So 6:30 a.m. in the morning, I received the message. 12 p.m. the same day, I signed the contract. And then 9 p.m. the same day, I flew out to China. My very first time going there. It was super last minute, super like stressful if you were my mum. Just like, but it was great. It ended up being a good trip and I really enjoyed it and made friends over there.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I don't know what we're talking about. My name is Gemma from Gemma Watches Stuff, and today we have the amazing Harrison Keane hanging out with us today. Welcome.
Hi, Jamal. Thank you for having me. I also don't know what we're talking about because you haven't told me yet.
Fabulous. Well, then you understand how the podcast works. The way this works is before I hit record, before we jumped on today, you sent me a list of 5 different topics, and you have no idea what I've chosen. I've chosen something. I'm going to throw you in the deep end. I'm going to pick a topic, and you're just going to have to roll with it.
I've also kind of forgotten what half the topics were, so this could be a big surprise.
I love when that happens. That's my favorite part, when people have no idea and they can't remember what topics they sent, and I'm just going to completely throw them in the loop. So, your topics were fantastic. You gave me a wide variety. Not that you remember, but you've given me a huge range of different topics and things to talk about. Not that you remember what they are. And I reckon today we could probably smash out 2 topics. I think we could definitely fit two of your topics in our time today. But I thought we'd
Awesome.
best start with vertical series and beyond.
I had a suspicion that this might be the one that comes up because it's so like related but also niche. Because I don't know how many people you know that do vertical short dramas. So I was like, there's a good chance she's going to ask me about this.
Very good, very good. I think it's a new. Um, I think it's a new area that's really blown up quite quickly and quite. It's got a huge range now, and so I'm really
Hmm,
excited to hear about not only what projects you've been a part of and how your experience has been working in vertical dramas and how you got into that field. But I think we should probably start a little bit earlier than that. How did you get into acting? How did you know that that's what you wanted to do? And what was it like moving from, auditioning for things and then finding out, oh, there's this whole new area of vertical dramas that you've sort of landed amazing roles now. So how's that experience been since you decided, you know what, I want to be an actor?
yeah, well, I started acting when I was in high school, doing the old drama class and whatnot. And throughout high school, did a bunch of school productions, plays, and my favorite bit were the musicals that we did. And it's very true of me to say that we had the best musical production musical productions for high schools in New South Wales, our school. There was a lot of money in it. There was a lot of great people working in it. The director and basically full organizer we had going for it, Michael Terzo, was just so like passionate about it and he put everything into it and it showed in the results that came up with these amazing productions. So that's where I kind of like fell in love with acting and whatnot. And I've always been a fan of movies and coming out of high school, both drama and computer slash technology were my two favorite kind of areas. I ended up doing an IT degree for 3 years, just completely disregarded the drama acting side. But after that, I was like, nope, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go and do acting. And ever since then, for the past 3 and a bit years, I've now been acting professionally. And I wouldn't change it.
What a wild journey. It sounds like you started, oh, this is fun, this is great, I love this, I'm passionate about this, school has been great and I've learned things and had experiences. But then you were like, nah, you know what, I'm gonna go do a whole degree in IT, and then decided, nope, on second thought, not. Did you finish your degree?
I did finish my degree. It was 3 years, so it wasn't like super long, which is good. And it did like with that degree, it gave me a lot of things and a lot of memories that I'm grateful for. And it came with a very nice scholarship attached to it. So, which allowed me to do a whole bunch of things, including travel the world a lot. And so I wouldn't change having done that degree and all the things that came alongside and because of it, because it it helped shape me as well and helped give me a bunch of wonderful life experiences. But I am very glad now that I'm working as an actor and recently been doing a lot of vertical short dramas. I kind of like I saw vertical short dramas pop up on the casting platforms in Sydney about 2 years ago ish. And when I read the scripts initially for the self tapes that they would request, I was like, this is shit. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing this project. And I'd move on. I probably should have started back then, 2 years ago, but that's hindsight. A year after that, about September 2024, I started doing vertical short dramas, and they've been so far the best part of my acting career. They've provided so much more work for actors and crew in many locations around the world, including Sydney, which without the vertical short dramas, or before the vertical short dramas actually, had very limited acting opportunities. It was either kind of student films or it was the big Hollywood productions that would come over or the TV shows that were shooting, but there weren't many of those. And so vertical short dramas kind of bridged that middle gap between the two and gave a lot more opportunity for actors to work, gave a lot more opportunity for crew members to work, and they've become insanely popular and have allowed me to travel the world and work and actually earn some money acting, which is, good, but like wasn't happening really that much before the vertical short dramas came along. And so overall, even though sometimes they aren't the best scripts and they aren't the best projects and they're very stereotypical or over exaggerated, they have been a net positive in my acting career.
It sounds like it was an opportunity that you weren't expecting by the sounds of it. It's something you originally was like, no, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't for me. But then later on, you were like, no, okay, I
Yeah.
better see how this goes. How did that feel? Going, oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. And then you were like, sounds like you kind of bit the bullet. Was like, okay, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, well, when you're auditioning for things all the time and you read something that you don't like or that you think is very not good, then you tend to avoid it. You're like, oh, I won't spend my time working on this project because it's not going to be beneficial for me. So that was like my initial reaction when I first read the few vertical drama audition sides. This was like really early on when they were in Sydney, like right at the very beginning. But then I don't even remember how I got into my first one. I just remember I ended up doing one and I actually enjoyed getting the opportunity to act with a proper crew around and other actors and getting paid for it. And then I just did another and kept going. And here we are.
Yeah. I think it really is that saying, beggars can't be choosers. And I think that as an aspiring
Yeah.
actor or somebody just starting or doesn't have a lot of training or experience or has only really just started and is trying to, build their career and meet people and get connections and have the experience and, um, grow as an actor. I think that having something like vertical dramas, which is a really big booming industry now, like it's huge in so many different ways. We can talk about that later, but the way that it, I guess, gives you opportunity that you may have not had any other way.
Mm.
I guess it gives you more experience, and even though it might feel a little cheesy or a little funny or a little silly, and you're like, oh, I really don't know if I like this, it's it's a job, it's experience, it's opportunity to learn and grow, and it sounds exactly like that's what you're doing, and it's been an interesting experience for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I kind of say to actors starting out now whenever I meet them. I'm like, go and do vertical short dramas because they give you that on-set experience. And yes, even if you don't think they're the greatest productions or the greatest writing in the world, it's got many other benefits that will help you grow as an actor and help your career grow.
Have you had, I want to say, some crazy or fun or silly, weird moments that you've been like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this, but this is what I'm doing? Because I know that you've had a lot of different characters and you've done a lot of different, short dramas. Um, Talk about that for us.
Yeah, so I've done in my vertical short drama career so far, I've done a lot of villain roles. I guess I'm naturally good at being an asshole. But I've been cast for a lot of villain roles, and with villains, you tend to do just absurd and heinous things. And doing a lot of them, I've had my fair share of, things that I wouldn't like to do as a person, things I would never do as a person, obviously, but, you do them for your character. Some of the fun moments, or the ones that at least I can remember, is I've been smacked over the head with a sugar glass bottle. I've been kicked in the nuts 4 times in the one scene by 4 different people. I've been stabbed. I've been beaten up a lot. Just that they really like that. They really like the hero guy just like beating up the villain guy. So I've gotten quite good at like taking punches and kicks and falling to the floor. Um, I've gotten to travel to China and to Turkey to shoot these, as well as Melbourne and Sydney. Yeah, there's a lot of like random little moments. And because these vertical dramas shoot so frequently and so fast, you actually get in a lot of projects in a relatively short amount of time. So the little moments, the weird and wonderful little moments, they kind of stack up because you're doing so many projects.
How many episodes do you think you've done, and how long on average do you think an episode goes for?
So an episode is typically 60 to 120 seconds. It's around the 1 to 2 minute range, and a series will have roughly 50 to 60 episodes. So overall, it's about the length of a feature-length movie. The scripts are about that length. They're usually 90 to 110 pages long. And in terms of episodes, I don't know. The villain varies in how many episodes they're in a show. It could be it could be anywhere from 10 to 30-ish. So usually not more than about half, depending on the villain. Because the vertical short dramas are very focused currently. They're very focused on the romantic relationship between the male and the female lead. So the villains come in at differing moments to kind of spice things up and create drama and stir plots and all that shenanigans. Um, it's very like high impactful moments spread out across the show.
Yeah, so the story seems to be like very, I guess, compared to compared to a regular movie or a film, like a Hollywood film, it's very, by the sounds of it, the story's very to the point, trying to get across, the drama because it's trying to get people to watch. So it sounds like it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Like it sounds that it's really cheesy on purpose. Like it's really the storylines are. Yeah, I guess you kind of said it before. It's like what everybody expects is going to happen. Everybody might know. Oh yeah, here comes the bad guy. It's I guess common in a way.
Yeah, it's very dramatized and viewer retention based. So lots of hooks, lots of cliffhangers. The platforms usually operate on a system where the first 10 episodes are free to view, and then after that, there's a paywall to watch the rest of the series. So, what they try and do is they try and hook the audience, especially in the first 1 to 2 episodes, so that they keep watching. Then they need to engage the audience with a storyline, some stakes, all that shebang in the first 10 episodes, enough so that the audience is invested to then pay to watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that's how they operate, and that's why especially the openings of all these verticals are very high stakes, very dramatic, lots of action and romance, sexual interactions, things that viewers like to see, things that really like hook on and grab an audience's attention.
Yeah, lots of cheesy, lots of drama, lots of stuff that's going to get you hooked. And then as soon as you're like, I can't believe I've watched, the 3 episodes of this. Oh my goodness, I didn't think I was going to like this. And then you get so hooked, and then it's like, oh, you have to pay to watch the rest of the episode to see what happens. And so I guess that's
Yeah.
how the difference is from a traditional movie or film or television show or Hollywood film is that the difference here is it's designed to be a little bit cheesy, be a bit funny, to grab you, to have the hook, to have the got to watch a few episodes to then get the paid hook, I suppose.
Yeah, because if you put a regular movie into a vertical format and you just split it up into 2-minute episodes, typically feature-length movies have a slower sort of build-up and beginning, so they're less likely to make an audience member pay to watch after the first 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is. So that's why they really have to amp up anything to grab an audience's attention.
Yeah, oh, it's very cool. So you've had opportunities through doing these short films, and you've had opportunity. You mentioned Turkey. You've been to China. What was it like when you first found out that you had opportunities to do international travel because of this work?
Yeah, well, I before I'd gone to any overseas locations to shoot, I knew that other Australian actors that I had worked with and become friendly with had gone overseas to China to shoot these verticals. And I was like, I really want to do that. And one day, randomly, it was 6:30 a.m. in the morning, and I got a message from a casting director, and she was like, we've got a last minute role. Are you available in China? I'd never spoken to this person before, by the way. And I was like, well, I'm aware this exists, and and someone who I had worked with can vouch that this casting director was a legit casting director and not some random person trying to make me come to China. And I was like, yes, I really want to go to China. So I ended up signing the contract on 12 p.m. the same day. So 6:30 a.m. in the morning, I received the message. 12 p.m. the same day, I signed the contract. And then 9 p.m. the same day, I flew out to China. My very first time going there. It was super last minute, super like stressful if you were my mum. Just like, but it was great. It ended up being a good trip, and I really enjoyed it and made friends over there. You know.
How did they find you? Because if you weren't sure about it, they contacted you. Then you left. You got the flight the same day you left. Like that's insane. That is insane. I
It
can
is
understand
it
why it
is
was stressful for
insane.
your mum as well to know. Oh, okay, he's just going to go overseas after signing a contract on the same day you were on a flight. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is. It is very insane. They do a lot of casting via Instagram. So this is beneficial to any actors listening who are interested in getting into vertical short dramas. Make sure your Instagram profile is active and showing your work and showing you as an actor. Because a lot of the casters, especially for China, search through Instagram for actors to then ask if they want to be in the vertical short dramas or ask to audition and so on and so forth.
Wow, very cool. Who would have thought that Instagram would be the place where you, yeah, were
I
found?
wouldn't expect it
No,
before it happened. No.
wow, very cool. You also mentioned Turkey as well.
Yes, yes, I did one in Turkey, which was very cool because I hadn't been to that area of the world before. Um, and I enjoyed going to Turkey. Turkey was a cool place. It was the first time I'd been to an Islamic dominant country, and so it was very cool. It's a very beautiful city, Istanbul, and you've got like a river going through it, and you've got mosques poking up everywhere with their spires. It's very, very pretty. And so we shot in Istanbul and a little city outside of Istanbul on the beach on the in the at the Black Sea for a few days. And yeah, it was just a nice place. It's very hot, but it was a nice place.
Wow. How did that come around through Instagram again? Like through connections through Instagram or someone you knew, or how did that come about?
Uh, I think that one was via Backstage, the casting platform. So that one, their casting director put up a post on Backstage. I applied, they wanted me, and then yeah, ended up in Turkey.
Look at that. That's amazing. What would you
Yeah.
say to someone who is just starting to, step out as an actor and find work, whether or not that was paid or they're volunteering just for experience or, committing a project, hopefully that it's going to build into something else or, obviously you've done a few different things through creating Instagram and following people and having connections through there. And obviously you've just mentioned Backstage as another place. Um, and I know that I connected with you because through Facebook you were advertising things as well. So for our own little project, you've done some.
Is that how we connected? Was it Facebook?
It was through Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook's a good
Yeah.
place.
So if
That was a
someone,
while ago. Forgot.
what would you suggest for people that are just starting as actors and want to get more experience or haven't haven't done anything before or haven't had any sort of education or anything, but they want to give it a go and reach out and find people and what other options have they got? I suppose.
Yeah. So for beginning actors, there are three areas that I would suggest. One is classes, having consistent practice and repetition of actually acting to build your skills. That's very important. The second is finding and doing whatever work you can. So, any student films, any short films, if you can get onto vertical web series, that's great. If you can do anything and everything that you can do is only going to help. It's going to give you experience, it's going to give you practice. You're going to be able to see your work in action and see which bits looked good, which bits didn't look good, and you're going to learn from that. And to find jobs, the best places that I've found in my experience have been Star Now and Facebook. Those are the two main places. Facebook, there's a lot of community pages like Sydney Audition or auditions or like casting notices, groups that are named something like that. Look that up. There's a bunch of them and just join all of them. There are postings in there quite frequently in need of actors or voiceover artists in this case. And I've personally gotten quite a few jobs through Facebook groups. And then Star Now is another great site, especially for Australia. Overseas, it's a bit different. But for Australia and Sydney, Star Now, Backstage as well a bit. Star Now is great. Lots and lots of job postings of varying levels and lots of different types of jobs. No, it's not only acting, but it's also like modeling, UGC, um, whole list, like hosting and presenting. There's a ton of stuff on there. So those are the two main places that I would go to kind of find whatever work I can. And in terms of material, you want your headshots, you want any sort of reel or demonstration of how you can act. And something new that I've only kind of gotten into a lot more seriously recently, but I think is quite important, is the social media aspect. So the main one is Instagram for actors. That's the kind of main location that you'll find a lot of actors and their work and a portfolio in a sense. That's where a lot of people go. So creating a consistent and active social media presence is a very good thing because it puts yourself out there and it makes you more visible for people to see and potentially hire you.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about the experience that you've had and how you got into acting and how you've connected and found people and found experiences and jobs and to do what you've done. It's really interesting because as technology has changed and even just the general process in how people became actors and auditions and things like that has changed so much since COVID, when the whole concept of online filming and you create your own reel and create your own online audition and things like that to
Mm.
submit for work rather than actually going to audition and seeing people in person and introducing yourself in person and go somewhere to audition, and just how technology has really impacted acting in general is really interesting. So then you've got people like yourself who are not necessarily new to acting but are doing it in a different way, like going through Facebook and online groups like that, using Instagram and other social media platforms to connect and get jobs and acting that way, rather than what I guess other actors would call the traditional way, which was going through an audition or rather than doing everything at home.
Mm.
You would not leave your house. You set up a camera, you do everything at home, and you send an email, and there you go. You've done an audition. Pre-COVID, that wasn't really an option. Before COVID, everybody would, have to go to an audition in person, and yeah, so it's really interesting
Mm.
to hear your experience
Yeah.
who's new to that world versus actors who have maybe been working in that world for a lot longer, and their experience is very different. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I grew up in the self not grew up. I suppose grew up as an actor in the self-tape era. So I didn't do acting professionally before COVID, so I didn't know that sort of era where everything was go into a room and perform live for casting directors. I've obviously had those experiences now, but 99% of my auditions have been self-tapes, have been done at home. And it's it's a I've heard it takes a tiny bit of getting used to when you if you're transitioning from doing it in person to doing it on camera. Um, I don't know exactly because I didn't have to do that transition. I just had to learn the on camera side. But you pick it up relatively quickly and it's a lot more accessible and it keeps you at home a lot more. That's for sure. You don't go out as much, which is sometimes not a great thing. Sometimes a good thing, sometimes not a great thing.
I guess that's kind of the controversial thing that everybody has when it comes to thinking about acting and being an actor. Pre-COVID, before, like, it was still a thing, like, since cameras, people could still record, at home and record their auditions and self-tapes and send that in and go from there. But it was more common to do it in person. But now, anybody can be an actor. All you need to do is have a camera at home, have your phone at home, film yourself at home and send an email, have an Instagram account. It doesn't
Mm,
take a lot now, which is controversial because some people are like, this is a great thing because it gives more people opportunities to act. It gives more people opportunities to perform and to connect. It gives more opportunities to be creative and make more films, make more televisions, tell more stories. It gives all that more opportunity. But then the other side of the coin, and I guess that's what makes it a little bit controversial, is you've got people that have done traditional training for years and have worked really hard and have done degrees and study and all of these things, and they've worked incredibly hard to become professional actors. But now, because you can have somebody who's done no official work, but they have a camera at home and they've applied for the same job as somebody who's worked for years and done all of this training, it can then sort of seem a little bit unfair as a professional actor versus somebody who has an Instagram account and a camera. And so it's become a little bit of a controversial thing among different actors and different expectations and different views about what acting really is, what it means to be an actor. Can anybody be an actor, or does it require a certain amount of, study or official experience to, create that film from home and send it in and hope for the best as an audition? Create that self tape, stand in front of a camera, and you're good to go. So it's a very interesting.
Mm. Yeah, I understand that perspective. And I think that at the end of the day, it comes down to the result. It doesn't matter how you get there, it comes down to the result. It doesn't matter if you've done 4 years of a course at NIDA or you've just started acting at home and filming yourself. Whoever has a better end result and fits the project better is going to be the one who's cast. And I come from experience of not having professional qualifications as an actor, not doing an official degree, not doing that sort of training or study. But I don't think, like a lot of university courses, I don't think it's a matter of study for any sort of skill. I think it's a matter of developing the skill for any sort of skill. And the best way to develop a skill is to do it. And so, if you want to become a better actor, do more acting. If you want to become a better lawyer, do more lawyering. um, there are certain uni degrees, sorry, certain professions where university degrees are gatekeepers almost to being in that profession. For example, lawyers and doctors, because they have a specific test that they have to accomplish and get a good score in, and then it allows them to legally be a lawyer or a doctor or so on and so forth. But for the vast majority of professions, formal training and studying isn't better than just learning the skills required yourself through however you do that, through by learning it at home, by being mentored by someone who knows that. However you do it, the thing that matters is that you're capable and can produce the result required.
That's it, 100%. And I think some of the other actors that I've had the chance to interview and other guests that we've had on the podcast have also talked about similar experiences where it doesn't matter whether or not you are the most talented with the most experience. You could be the best actor ever. If you go for an audition, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a better chance than somebody who doesn't have the official training or who has a different experience, because you could literally, you're slightly too tall, your hair's not exactly quite right for what they're looking for, or your accent's not exactly what we're looking for. You remind me of my sister and she didn't really, so you remind me too much of her, so you're not going to get the job. Like, there can be the most silly, ridiculous, crazy reasons that you don't get the part, that it goes to somebody else. And sometimes it's really got nothing to do with how professional you are, how much experience you have, where you grew up, where you're from, what country you're from, what accent you can do. Sometimes none of that is the reason that you don't get the role. And there's been actors that have been on the podcast and expressed that very thing, in the fact that they've auditioned for a role and they've been told, no, sorry, thank you for your time. Basically, you're not going to get the part. It's not you. And sometimes the reason that they get told that you didn't get the part is because you've got the wrong color hair. You're not tall enough, or you're not quite thin enough, or you're too muscly. We're looking for someone a little bit thinner. Like, the reasons that you might not get the job has really nothing to do with your experience or your education, but you just don't fit the the casting idea, the picture that they have in their head of who they want to do the role, and it's as simple as that sometimes.
Yeah, it is as simple as that sometimes. The only caveat to that is that you can adjust some things, especially in your own self-tapes and auditions. You can adjust the way you appear to help to essentially make yourself more like what they're looking for. And if you can do that and your performance is, drop dead good, then you've got a much better chance um, of landing the role. It certainly does happen that you aren't the look that they're going for, and therefore you don't get cast. But I don't like to have that as a limiting or negative talk thing in my head personally, because I feel like that's a cop out. It's an excuse for not putting on a good performance and not presenting the best like character you can to a casting director and then saying because you didn't get it, oh, it's because I'm not tall enough. Like if you're really good, if your performance is really good, then you've got a better chance of them changing their mind about what they pictured in their head because you're so good than than having the idea that, oh, they didn't cast you because you got too many muscles.
It's the beauty of a creative job, because the person, the director, the actors, they might have a specific idea of, this is what we want, this is what we're looking for, this is what we're casting for. Actors can come and audition, but this is what we want. But then you never know, you might get there, do your best, have a go, and they'll be like, you know what, I actually really like that. It's not like what I thought I was going to like. I was thinking it was going to be like this, but you know what? He's got the job. That's the way it's going to go, because you've surprised them, or it's been different, or it's the beauty of working with a creative job compared to being a lawyer or a teacher, or working in an office or administration. It's the fun about having a creative job, as you never
Mm.
know what options you're going to get, whether or not you're going to get to play the bad guy or get hit over the head with a sugar glass bottle or something. You're going to get stabbed or punched or anything. So it's the
Yeah.
beauty of being an actor. Um, Before I ask you about Stranger Cases, and we talk about that, which is how we know each other and how you've ended up coming on the podcast today, we're going to play a bit of a game. I'm going to play a bit of a game.
Awesome.
The game that we play with all of our guests on, I don't know what we're talking about, is called This or That. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two different things. It's pretty straightforward. You just need to pick one, this or that. Understand the questions however you want to interpret them, that's up to you. It's always very interesting to see how people interpret the questions and how they answer the questions, and it's a little bit fun. So I've got three different questions for you, and the first one for you today: time travel or teleportation?
Time travel.
Why?
Oh, do I give a reasoning as
Oh,
well?
yeah, you've got to explain why. You can't just pick one without
Oh,
telling us why.
well, you said this or that.
Okay, then fair enough,
Uh,
fair enough. It was this or that, but you got to give me something. Time travel or teleportation?
time travel because I would love both, but time travel because just like imagine the possibilities of the different places you could go to. And I'm assuming like it's capped at like you time travel back at the same location, just a different point in time. Otherwise, it's also teleportation. But yeah, time travel because the possibilities are a lot broader, and I think it'd be a lot more interesting to see all the different moments in time rather than just being able to teleport around the world at the same time.
So you really put a lot of thought into that. This is why we need to know. We need to know why you put a lot of thought into that. That was an excellent answer to the question. That was great. Because I think you're 100% right. Because think of all your classic time travel movies. You can't just time travel to America if you're currently in Sydney. So makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Put a lot of thought into it. That's what we want. Question number two for you: road trip or a flight?
Uh,
This one's difficult. This one's difficult.
I'm gonna say road trip.
Road trip.
Just,
Are you sure?
just. No, I'm not sure. Because, okay, assuming you can travel by car to both locations, off like to the other location, like obviously you can't road trip from Sydney to LA, but assuming you travel by car to both locations, actually no, I just prefer a flight to be honest.
This
But I kind of want to go on a road trip currently, so maybe that's why my answer was affected.
was really complicated. That was a lot more complicated than I expected that to
I
be.
don't like spending a lot of time in cars. It's too long.
But you feel like you need a road trip at the moment.
I'd like to go on a road trip, great, just
Drive just to get
that's me just like driving off into the sunset.
this gets a little bit of both. All right, that was complicated question. Complicated question. Well, I hope the last question isn't too complicated, but I have a feeling it might be complicated. Last question for you: hero or villain?
Villain.
Okay, not as complicated. That was easy.
No. I I like villains. I like I also like villains that turn into heroes.
Ooh, okay.
I like that character arc. It's a fun one. I like watching it and I'd like to do it as well. But also like a great villain is really iconic and fun and has a lot of room to play in.
I guess you've had a lot of experience with the vertical series that you have done in playing the villain, and I guess it's made it
Yeah.
a little bit more fun. I think the
I,
villains have the more interesting story.
yeah, I'd like to do like a horizontal villain though. I haven't done that yet, which would be very fun to do. I really want to do like a Joker sort of character one day.
That's a
Yeah.
bit crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for playing. That was this or that. Um, we got very distracted and we've nearly hit our time for today, but I do want to talk about some of the other projects and things you've got going on now. We're both the lead in a series that we've been working on, a podcast, drama, woohoo, which we will talk about, but not yet. What other projects and things have you been working on? Have you got anything else coming up that you've been auditioning for or working towards? Any other projects? What else is going on? What else have you been up to?
It's been quiet. No, I've got a lot of projects in post-production, and yesterday, actually, from when we're recording this, yesterday I just finished shooting a short film, which was very fun, and the shots look really nice, and I'm really looking forward to it coming out, and I think it's going to go through the festival circuit and whatnot, so that's exciting. But yeah, a lot of projects in post-production. It's about five, I think. Three verticals, two shorts. So they will come out at some point. Who knows? Oh, actually, you know what I got emailed yesterday? Do you remember how I told you that I'd done a voiceover series before, but it was a while ago and it hadn't come out? They finally emailed us yesterday saying it was going to come out in March.
Hey,
And
what?
it's been like 2 years
Oh, wow.
since we recorded it. It's been so long. But they were like, it's finally coming out. I'm like, yes, finally.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah.
People want to catch any of the work that you've done. They want to see they want to watch the short film, short series, vertical series that you have done, where can they find you? Instagram, obviously, you've talked about, so you've got an Instagram, but if people want to connect with you and find more about you and hear about some of the other projects and maybe catch that audio series that's been coming for 2 years, where can they find you?
The best location that I'm most active on is Instagram at Harrison underscore Keen underscore. And that's where I post twice a day now because, as I mentioned before, social media is very important. And now I'm posting a shit ton to increase audience following and engagement. And that's where, if I've got a project releasing, you will likely be able to see it.
Beautiful. Now, before we let you go, we've got to mention Stranger Cases, which is the project that you currently work on with me. And instead of me explaining all about it, let's get you. You can explain all about it. A little bit of a plug for Stranger Cases. Tell us what you've been working on there.
Stranger Cases, a fantasy audio series where two supernatural detectives, well, the detectives aren't supernatural, but two agents who are kind of like detectives investigate supernatural cases of ghosts and portals and all things bizarre that are happening in the world around them. And they go and they solve the cases and fight crime and slay dragons.
I
They
think
haven't slain a dragon yet, but soon they might slay a dragon.
we could
It's
put a
coming
dragon
in
in there. Why not?
season two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we could
Yeah, yeah.
definitely do that. And that would be us. We're the main
That would
cast.
be us. That would be
Ah,
Agent Ethan Hayes and Agent Alexandra Ward.
that's it. Fantastic. Very cool. So yeah, if you want to find Strange Cases, you can find us on Instagram as well. You go follow us on Instagram.
And everywhere you get your podcasts.
Everywhere you get your podcasts. Follow me, Gemma, watch your stuff. Follow Harrison Keen, Instagram. It's everywhere. You'll find Stranger Cases where we both have 5 episodes currently out and another 5 episodes still to come for season 1. So
Oh my gosh, 5 more episodes!
Harrison, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast as well as the Stranger Cases podcast. So you're everywhere now. So thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thank you very much for having me, Gemma. It's been a fun old time.